So if you love the magic of travel, whether it's adventure travel, cultural travel, leisure travel, a fun cruise, or a short getaway, this podcast is for you. So pack your bags. Here's your host, Colby Jones.
Hey everybody, welcome into this episode. We are talking about round trip Alaskan cruises. This is going to be a quick hitter episode. I'm just going to give you the cold hard facts really quickly. Now, if you're new to cruising or want to know all about Alaskan cruising, I do have one big old episode, and it covers everything Alaskan cruising from head to toe. Literally everything. It's actually part of the training that I put my agents through when they're learning about Alaskan cruises. So if you have time for that, you can watch the big episode. If not, let's dive right into this one. Ready? Let's go. Number one, the first thing that you want to know about round trip Alaskan cruises are there are four types. We have round trip Seattle, the most common. We have round trip Vancouver, number two most common. And then we have 3 and 4, which are round trip San Francisco and Los Angeles. Unless you live near San Fran or LA, do not do those cruises. They're 10 to 12 days. They're a waste of money unless you live there. They only have those cruises because people that live there don't want to fly. All you do is get extra days at sea. You don't get any extra wildlife, any extra viewing. Stick to Seattle, stick to Vancouver. Okay, so now that we know that we're not packing these big heavy jackets, let's talk about the weather and the temperature. First week or two in May is going to be cold and rainy, most likely. As you get into June, it starts to heat up and the weather starts to calm down. If you go the last 2 weeks of June through the first 2 weeks of August, that is the peak time and that is the warmest time. I'm talking like 80 degrees warm, sometimes even in the 90s, probably not. I would plan for mid-70s to mid-80s. You may get that random day in there that's cold, but probably not too much. Now, once we get into September, things really start to take a turn. They really start to drop temperature-wise. So the last 2 weeks of September, it's definitely going to be cooler. You're probably going to want your gloves. You're probably going to want a hat like this with these things. You're going to want these, tickle your face with. Yeah. The other part to know about the last 2 weeks of September is it's extremely bipolar. What I mean by that is I've been on a cruise where I was at Glacier Bay last week of September, the very last sailing of the year. It was 70 plus degrees. I was in shorts. I got sunburned on my balcony. The very next day it snowed. Very next day. So the weather in Alaska is a lot like it is in Colorado. Now let's say that we don't live in California, so we're looking at round trip Seattle or round trip Vancouver. How do we decide which one we want to choose? Well, the round trip Seattle cruise is going to be a lot easier for you to get to airfare wise if you don't live in Washington. So that's a great option. Vancouver is a little more difficult to get into airfare just because it costs more. There are fewer flights and you have to have a passport for a flight into Vancouver. This brings us into the next thing that you need to know for your Alaskan cruise. If it's round trip, you do not need a passport. You don't need one. I don't care what anybody tells you, what anybody did, or anything else. If you do a round trip Seattle, if you do a round trip Los Angeles, a round trip San Francisco, you can still get off in Canada, you can still get off in Victoria, you can do the cruise without a passport. Say it with me now. No passport! We don't need no passports! I want you to do it just like that. Okay? Point is, don't go waste money for the kids getting passports that are going to expire in just a minute. You know, if yours is set to expire yourself, use a birth certificate, use a passport card. You don't have to have a passport. Yes, you can get off the cruise in Canada. What you cannot do is fly into Canada without your passport. So you want to book that round trip Seattle cruise? Done. Don't need a passport, save the money. On our round trip Seattle cruises, the itinerary most always is going to look something similar to this. Juneau, Ketchikan, Skagway, and normally you're going to stop in Victoria, BC, British Columbia. Sometimes it's Vancouver. Typically it's going to be Victoria. That's going to be your itinerary on like 90% of the cruises. A few of them may sub out Icy Strait Point, or they may sub out Sitka. You may have one of those two in place of Skagway or in place of Ketchikan, but not normally. Now, what does that mean for us? Well, those are all great ports of call, so that doesn't mean too much. What does matter are the glaciers. This is a major, major sticking point for an Alaskan cruise. It is something that I train my agents on so much, I just hammer it home, is the glaciers. You must have one of the 3 major glaciers on the cruise. See what I just did there? We'll talk about that. First of all, we have Glacier Bay. We have Hubbard Glacier, and we have Sawyer Glacier. If you're doing an Alaskan cruise, it's not an Alaskan cruise unless you get one of those major glaciers. You just have to, okay? All right, it's like getting an ice cream sundae without the whipped cream and the cherry on top. Well, then you just got ice cream. We don't want that. We want the sundae, right? So you need to make sure you have one of the 3 major glaciers. So I keep holding up 4 because Glacier Bay, our number 1, well, it's not so number 1 anymore. It's gotten a lot of traffic throughout the years. It has receded pretty significantly, okay? It used to be this big grandiose thing, and now it's, I could fit it in my rum and coke glass. It's just an ice cube now. Facetious. But the point is that glacier is shrinking a lot, and it's kind of lost the grandeur. You still need to see a major glacier, but that's where our little 4th friend comes in, this guy. This one we call Dawes Glacier, and Dawes Glacier looks real good. She's the new sexy thing on the block, and you're just like, wow, look at you. You look real good, don't you? And I just realized that was creepy talking to an iceberg, or a glacier. I'm never that creepy unless I'm in this room. The film room, not like... Dawes Glacier is the new addition to the glacier hunting. You need to make sure that you have Dawes on there as well. If you don't have Glacier Bay, you'll have Dawes. One of those glaciers works. As the word gets out about Dawes Glacier and more people start to go there, you're going to start seeing that one probably replace Glacier Bay sooner than later. We'll see what happens. Now you're probably thinking, well, Colby, don't all the Alaskan cruises have glaciers? Yeah, sort of, not so much. So you really need to ensure that you do have one of those 3 major glaciers on your itinerary. The next thing that's very, very important for your round trip cruise is a bonus. And they have some. There's not a lot, but there are. Those bonuses are College Fjord, whoop-bam, beautiful, and Tracy Arm Fjord, whoosh, also super beautiful. I can't tell you enough about them, and I go into greater detail in the other Alaskan videos, but we got to keep this short and sweet and simple. Try and get one of the bonuses on there. College Fjord, Tracy Arm Fjord, or Icy Strait. These are scenic days you don't get off the cruise ship, but my God, are they absolutely worth it. 100%. If you are doing an Alaskan cruise just once in your life and you can only do the round trip Seattle or the round trip Vancouver or the round trip anything, get one of the bonuses on there. It doesn't cost more. Some itineraries have it, some don't. Get it. Now let's say that we're still having trouble debating between round trip Vancouver and round trip Seattle. We know the round trip Vancouver is further northbound, so we'll get to see a little bit more because we don't have to transition up from Seattle, right? Well, we understand that. But the airfare into Vancouver is tough. You can't get the right flights in or out, or it's more expensive. Pro tip for you. Get your airfare into Seattle. Let's say airfare into Seattle is $250 round trip, right? Let's say airfare into Vancouver is $500 round trip. So it's literally twice the price. Well, guess what? Fly into Seattle. In Seattle, there is a shuttle that runs all the time. It's about 3.5 hours and it costs $75. It goes from Seattle up to Vancouver. It's a nice shuttle, it's an easy ride, and you can still fly into Seattle and take the shuttle and meet the cruise ship all in the same day. No hotels, no layovers, no cramps, no nothing. Just get in, get it done. I love that. I've done it so many times and it saves so much money. An extra $200 in your pocket, we're gonna take that every time. So Colby, what really is the difference between the Seattle round trip and the Vancouver round trip? Besides airfare and that sort of thing? Well, not a lot, to be honest with you. Everybody wants to do the inside passage. They always call it the inner passage. It's called the inside passage, but really, almost every cruise does the inside passage. If you do the Vancouver trip, you're going up through the inside passage and back down. If you do the Seattle cruise, the round trip Seattle, you're either going to go up through the inside passage and ocean back, or you're going to go ocean up and inside passage back. So really the difference, it's back to the airfare and which one you can get a better deal on if you have your passports. Vancouver has 2 inside passage trips. Seattle only has one, and the Inside Passage, guys, it's not, it's nothing that fancy. It really isn't. Don't worry about it. It's not even something that's, you need to worry more about what you're going to wear to dinner that night than how many Inside Passage trips you're going to take, okay? That's where it's at. The last thing that people ask about all the time is which side of the ship they should be on if you're doing a round trip cruise. It's kind of funny because you do a circle, all right? No matter which way you go, you're making a circle. So it doesn't really matter on the round trip cruises. It does on the northbound, southbound. Last but not least, let's really quickly cover the cruise lines that are operating the Alaska itinerary so we know which ones to choose or not to. All right. If you are of the age 55 or plus, Holland America is a total home run for you. If you are not 55 plus, stay away. Stay very far away. Okay? Holland America caters to the senior crowd. They're fantastic. But by 8 o'clock in the evening, that ship is a ghost town. Everybody's in bed. All right? You're going to dodge wheelchairs if you're on that cruise. So while the pricing may be fantastic, you're not going to enjoy it very much. Also, on that topic, if you are of that age and you want to bring your family or grandkids, please don't put them on Holland America. Holland America does a great job for kids. They're an amazing cruise line, but the kids and grandkids are still going to hate it. Get something everybody will enjoy. Which brings us to Princess. Princess is the number one for Alaska. They have been for the last 8 years, 10 years. I don't even know. It doesn't matter because they're always going to be number one. And they are. They're a total home run. It is a complete knockout. You cannot go wrong with Princess. Princess is also super proud about being number one for Alaska. Let me tell you something about that. One year, another cruise line came close. They gave Princess a run for their money. And Jan Schwartz, the president of Princess, she was having none of that. Woo-hoo-hoo, woo-hoo. Over the next year, she pumped in like $3 million per ship to Alaska to ensure that nobody ever sniffs number one, ever. Oh, you don't mess with Jan Schwartz. She's awesome. So Princess will always be number one. They're great for seniors. They're great for kids. They're great for anybody in the middle. They literally cover everything head to toe, and they kind of pioneered the Alaskan cruise. They really did. If you're in your 30s or 40s, you have kids, great options for Alaska, Royal Caribbean and Norwegian cruise lines. If you don't have kids and you want to avoid kids, those are also still really good options for you as well. Celebrity is another really nice option. They're kind of the higher end. They have now gone from a premium cruise line up to a luxury cruise line. They are now luxury, so they are completely all-inclusive because, as you know, with luxury, you can't be nickeled and dimed. They're a fantastic option. Not going to see a lot of kids on them. If you're on a budget or you have a lot of family or a lot of kids, Carnival is a great option for you. They're not going to wow any aspect of it, but they're going to get you there. They're going to get the job done, and you won't have too many complaints, if any, at all. Carnival is fantastic for young families and young kids. Next, we have Disney. Whew. Man, they are a high-end product. You're going to pay for it. I love Disney. I love Disney for Alaska. But let me just give you guys some context so you can know. If you do one Disney cruise to Alaska, let's say you have husband and wife and 2 kids, that one cruise, I can put you on 2 cruises on any other cruise line in a suite for less. So you can do 2 Alaska cruises on someone else in a suite for less than the price of 1 cabin on Disney. Something to think about. Now, all of the other lines that operate there, oh gosh, Regent, Silver Sea, etc., those are the very high-end, basically giant yachts that are super duper nice, 6 stars and above. You don't really have kids on there. Those are for the professionals, the retirees. They've got money. They can spend it. They can flaunt it. They're fantastic because they're smaller vessels. They can also get into smaller places, but you're going to pay for it. So just be aware that those have a higher dollar margin. They're absolutely worth it, but don't expect to go meeting people at the nightclub or anything of that sort. This is like the Club Med kind of thing. Super nice, but they're pricey. Now, when should we book our Alaska cruise? Well, if you want to go anytime in May or the first 2 weeks of June, then I recommend you wait. If you want to go anytime middle of June through the first week or two of August, that's the peak season again, you need to book it as soon as you are ready. I'm talking about November, December of the year prior, and especially January and February and March. If you wait till March to try and book that last part of June through first 2 weeks of August cruise for Alaska, you're going to be paying way too much money. All the good spots will be already picked out. Not a good idea. You need to book that right away. Now, if you're looking for late August or late September, then we can also wait to book because I will be able to get you much better pricing. I'm talking like maybe looking at April to May when Alaska season first starts. That's when we're going to start booking the tail end. Pro tip, book a balcony. I know you're like, Colby, well, that costs way more money. You're just trying to sell us. No, I'm not. Trust me on this. Trust me, trust me, trust me. Everybody that I've sent to Alaska that didn't do a balcony has done it again in a balcony. And everybody that has done a balcony has thanked me. Okay, there's too much to see on Alaska. You need your own private balcony. The other thing that oftentimes goes unnoticed, this is the deck space, right? Now, if you're on a cruise that's holding 2,000 to 3,000 people, well, guess what? Majority of the cabins are inside cabins, right? Or the little porthole windows. Sometimes it's even a picture window. You still can't see very well from those. So 2/3 of the entire cruise ship are going to be up on these top 2 decks, fighting for space to see the whales, fighting for space to see the glaciers. It's just a nightmare. And if you need to go to the bathroom, you want to go get some hot chocolate, you want to go get some food, guess what? Your spot's gone. And heaven forbid there's any bad weather. If there's rain or snow, all the lounges are totally full. You're not going to see anything. Get a balcony. You will thank me later.
So that's it for today's episode of Travel with Colby. Head on over to wherever you listen and subscribe to the show. One lucky listener every single week that posts a review on Apple Podcasts will win a chance in a grand prize drawing to win a free cruise. So be sure to head on over to travelwithcolby.com and pick up a free travel gift from Colby and join us next time